Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another live broadcast from Mackmyra Whisky. Tonight, we're going to do things a little bit different. We're not going to be tasting whiskey, although I would advise to have a glass with you and maybe a bottle of whiskey along to enjoy the night. What we are going to be doing tonight is telling you about Mackmyra's 30-litre cask program. With the cask program, there are different avenues which you need to explore, and helping me tonight are two people. My newest guest and newest member of the team is Matt Chambers. Matt Chambers has been appointed to work on the UK side. Hi, Matt. Evening.
Okay.
Looking after reserve casks. And on the online side of business, all the way from Italy, we have Jon Birkbeck. Jon, are you there?
Hi there. Yeah, I think I'm up and running.
Yeah,
excellent.
Hi, Jon. Nice for you to join us. So tonight we're going to be talking about cask programs. We're going to be talking about the ins and outs of the cask program Mackmyra have. They're only 30-litre casks. We have reserve casks, which you put away for a few years and bottle when you're ready. We have online ready casks where you can buy it now and bottle it now, and the ins and outs of that. There's also a bit of an offer going on at the moment, which we'll discuss. But I thought we'll start with the reserve side, if you don't mind, Jon, and let Matt tell us a little bit about it. So over to you, Matt. I'd like to hear how you got into whiskey, how you came to Mackmyra.
Thanks, Shane. Firstly, I'd like to say, I'm delighted to have joined the team with Mackmyra in the UK.
Welcome.
My job here is to really help expand the reserve cask program in the UK, and this is a program that's been running for well over 15 years in Sweden and has thousands of cask owners over in Sweden.
That's right.
Yeah, my personal sort of journey into whiskey sort of started well over a decade ago. Went on a holiday to Scotland, basically thought we needed to do something Scottish when we were up there in the Highlands, and basically visited a distillery. Something then sort of really captured my wife and I's interest. So we wanted to learn a bit more about whiskey, and basically started a blog. This was the new thing sort of 12 or so years ago. And yeah, we found some very good websites, but they were aimed more at connoisseurs. So at our sort of personal beginner level, we couldn't really find anything. So we decided to write it ourselves for our own sort of education, really. But from that, people started reading it, sort of fairly quickly, and within a couple of years, it was a very popular whiskey blog. Then, some years later, became one of the most read whiskey blogs in the world.
Matt, sorry, what is it called?
It's called Whisky for Everyone. That was the title that we gave it, and really from it never changed, that title, as it turned out, because people were commenting to us when they were reading that they really liked this sort of, the fact that it was whiskey for everyone. It was particularly for beginners, and we still try and write in that sort of language now. Brands started taking sort of interest in us, and really sort of went from there to the point that 5 years ago we were actually honoured to be inducted into the Keepers of the Quake.
Wow.
One of the highest.
That's right.
You can achieve it in the Scotch whisky industry. And it was for services to Scotch whisky and being pioneers of the, sort of whisky blogging and whisky social media movement.
Congratulations.
So what you're saying is you kind of know your stuff then?
Yeah, you like to think so, but you always learn, as I'm learning, but, I was aware of Mackmyra as a brand, from very sort of way back. So when I was starting, I've done worked for a couple of whiskey retailers in my time. And when I was back at Royal Mile Whiskies, one of the guys there was a big fan of Mackmyra, and he introduced me to the brand. And, this is where I really sort of got the sense that they were doing something quite pioneering. This is way before a lot of these other craft artisan type distilleries, were sort of even thought of. So I like the sort of this pioneering style. I like the quality of the spirit that is consistently produced, and also this sort of sense of, innovation, but in a controlled way. You see a number of these and sort of other distilleries popping up, and they just seem this slightly scattergun approach. But I love what Matt Mira do, so that's why I'm therefore delighted to be part of the team here.
Congratulations.
Do you remember?
Glad having you.
Quick question. Yeah. Do you remember which one was the first Mackmyra you had, or any favourite you've got, just so we can kind of?
Yeah, it was one of the Preludiums actually. I think
way back then. Yeah.
Yeah. Champagne Cask, which I think was number 6, but someone might correct me. This, as I say, it was sort of shown to me sort of when I was working in the shop there, and it was the first what we call the sort of proper bottle of whiskey that we actually bought. Sort of on this journey, which now has many more bottles than that, and is expensive, obviously, as we all know.
And we've moved on a long way since then, Matt. But I mean, how did you get involved with Mackmyra? So, from the blog to where you are now, how did you get involved? How did you get?
I started. I was one of the first people to actually write about Mackmyra in the UK, as it turns out, and that was sort of way back, sort of 9 or 10 years ago, and really, sort of, then I started talking to. Some of the people there, and they were talking about wanting to expand this reserve cask program in the UK, which is obviously very popular in Sweden and has been filtered out into some other countries as well. But it's really gone from there. Just had a chat, sort of got the ideas of what the brand are wanting, and here I am.
Okay, well, great. Do you want to tell us a bit about the cask program you're looking after, the reserve cask program, how it works, what the intrinsics behind it are?
Of course. I mean, it's an exciting, thing, because what you get to do, I think it has firstly great potential in the UK. It's massive in Sweden and a couple of other countries as well, starting to come through. But it essentially allows you to design or create your own cask of whiskey that you then get to choose to bottle whenever you feel it's ready, maybe 4 or 5 years down the track. So the facets of this are that firstly you choose the spirit type. So you have the Conflict Elegant, or you have the Smoky Rook. You then get to choose the barrel type that it's to be matured in, and this can be from different origins. It can be from ex-bourbon, it can be ex-Oloroso sherry. There's also some virgin American oak casks as well.
Interesting.
And then the third thing that you can actually show is choose is where this cask is actually matured. So there's a number of different sites around Sweden, and the main 2 that I'll sort of be concentrating on. There's the Bodas mine, which is this sort of fascinating. Used to be an old mine, but it's 50 meters under the ground. Where the casks are stored, it takes a good sort of 2 or 3 minutes to drive down there.
That's right.
You then that's where your cask is stored. The other one is the Forest warehouse. This is very close to the distillery in the forest near Gävle there.
I think John's actually showing the Bodas.
So looks a bit like a sort of Bond villain sort of hideout, but you go down here into this big sort of cavern where the casks are stored. So I can't really think of anything else like it, from my sort of whiskey experience anywhere sort of else like it in the whiskey world. Really, it's fascinating.
It is,
and you guys can still hear me. If I can, this was the video I shot, and it's just an amazing place just to go down. The smell of it that you have as all the whiskey. I think there's 20,000 barrels down there at the moment, at least. And it's a great place and such a unique place to store whiskey. I don't think there's anywhere in the world where, it's 50 meters underground. But as you say, it does have this Bond villain-esque thing going on with it, which is great.
John, did you know when you drove up and they opened the big shutter door so you can drive in, and you get that sort of waft of whiskey, even if you've got your windows closed, you can really smell it. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's I think I can come back in the corner if yeah, you can just see me there. Yeah, it's just a brilliant as well. It's the having to constantly keep water out of anything because it's underground. It's great humidity for aging whiskey. We have everything. These are lots of 30-litre casks that were there, as well as the 200 litres, the sherry butts. This is one of our colleagues, Anders, walking along here, and this just goes on for like 200 meters, and I think there's 11 different spaces within it, like small caverns. Or, yeah. And oh yes, one of our little ones there. But, yeah, it's a lovely place, and I've got one on the forest whenever you want to discuss that as well.
And it's quite interesting. It was initially designed for Sandvik, which is a heavy mining, drilling, machining company, and they used it to test their iron ore machinery down there. So they had these huge machines that went down there and drilled holes, and then Sandvik got rid of it, and then it became a mushroom farm, and now we've got it, and it's now a whiskey holding tank.
History timeline, isn't it? There,
it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Matt, we interrupted you. Yeah.
No. So basically, the different facets are that you personally get to choose the spirit, the type of spirit that you put into your cask. You get to choose what type of cask it is, the origin of it, and the wood type. You get to choose where it's matured, and then the fourth thing is that you actually get to choose when it's bottled, because part of the sort of scenario and part of the program is that you actually get to taste it at various points through your cask journey. So that would be with me or with somebody else from Mackmyra, but that's all part of it. And as you said before, Shane, these are 30-litre casks, and they're specifically made from Mackmyra by Swedish cooperage, and they're this size because the original still, which the founders actually built themselves back in the late 90s, had a 30-litre spirit run. So it's a little sort of hat tip to that. I've got one here if you want to.
Yeah.
It's always good to see how strong our members of staff are.
So here we are.
Oh, it's strong. 30 litres full of whiskey.
You can't really see, but there we are. You can see the sort of size it is.
So it's easily manageable. I mean, it's not a big 250 litre cask. It's you basically can carry it in your hands.
Yeah, and the average that you end up with, obviously it depends where you're maturing, and you get sort of different rates of sort of evaporation and so on. But you roughly end up between 45 and 50 bottles on average from this at the end of the day. And what you also get with this small size of barrel compared to, say, a bigger bourbon cask or a massive sherry cask is you get a much bigger sort of ratio of wood to whiskey. So this helps to accelerate the contact that the spirit has and the aging process. So
I'm going to stop you there, Matt, while you're talking about that, because here's a Milroy's bottle that I've got. So Milroy's bottled 5 casks of ours. They had a pre-stored PX cask, and then it went into a 30-litre barrel for 1 year. And they tasted it and said, that's right for bottling. So it doesn't have to go in for 4 or 5 years. You can decide when it's ready.
Yeah. So this is the beauty of it. You're sort of, you get to play God essentially. When do you get to do that? You get to choose all these different things that ultimately you end up with your own whiskey. And the important thing is that it's not, obviously there will be individuals that are interested in doing this, but really I see it as a sort of wonderful opportunity to sort of club together with a couple of family, friends, create a little sort of whiskey community amongst yourselves and buy one of these casks, or it might be with your social club or a whiskey club, of course, but other sort of different types of clubs that you might know somebody that would be interested in joining together with.
And then you design your own label. So between however many there are of you, design your own label. You've only got 48 bottles, so it's not a huge investment in terms of outlay in terms of bottles. If there's 4 of you,
Also, you'll see on the picture there, you get a little tag on the label as well. So the one I've got here, it tells you all the details. So you've got, for example, this one is the Rook, the Smoky Spirit with Oloroso, so 30 litres, and it's got the cask number, the strength 54.7, and the number of bottles, which is 45 in this case. So that one's actually bottled at 4 years of age by someone called Christopher. It even tells you.
Where's our samples? No, you can't bring along whiskey and.
Might have one.
I see. There we go.
We had one ready.
I'm on one of the later ones, which I'll discuss.
Yeah, this sample is actually the Rock Oloroso.
Very nice. Very nice. So, Matt, going back to what you were saying, get a group of friends together to buy a cask. What sort of price are you looking at for a 30-litre?
So it kicks off, just under the £1,500 mark. What happens then is, depending on the different type of spirit. So if you buy the Rook, it's a little bit more expensive on top of that. Then the different type of cask. There are also some limited edition casks that pop up from time to time. But you basically, the price then comes through depending on what combination of these things that you pick. But it starts just under £1,500.
That's not bad. So you're looking at under £40 a bottle if you're looking at, say, 48 bottles for a cask. That's really good value for money, and it's a one-off. You don't. There's no any of these casks.
And is that just the cask you get?
So what was that, John?
Oh, sorry, before you're breaking up a little. It's not just the cask you get as well. That's we throw in nearly everything that you need.
This is also, why I've been brought on, because it's all about, sort of creating this sort of community of cask owners, and also following the journey of the cask. So, there's for example, there's a very good offer on the UK website at the moment, which is.
That's right, we do.
Sort of, I know you're going to talk a bit more about, John, but this wraps up a whole number of different experiences. So you're not just essentially buying a cask of whiskey that you never see, and you end up with on your doorstep in 4 or 5 years' time. You actually get to follow the journey through, with tastings of your actual sample spirit, with me or somebody else from Mackmyra, sort of on or near its anniversary, sort of through its time. So, I can't really again think of anything really like that's in the whiskey world, where you get to choose all these different facets, and come in with your friends or colleagues or work colleagues or whatever, and then actually follow its journey through as well.
So, Matt, just to highlight that, so if somebody wanted to get involved in this process, how would they go about it? So, if you wanted samples, or you wanted it before you chose the cask, how would you get them? Once you chose the cask, what's the process of getting those samples again? Or is it a case of going to the distillery?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got samples here, so you'll see my email address going across the bottom of the screen now. And what I'd like to do is offer people to contact me at this email address. It's matt.chambers@mackmyra.com.
There it is there, guys. Yep.
There we go. Mm-hmm. Right on cue. And then what I'll do is we can arrange for yourself or a group of friends to talk like this, obviously at the moment, and then a bit more face to face when restrictions get lifted sort of later on in the year. But we will then talk and do a tasting. I will send you different combinations of the spirit, the cask, etc. These are the things that are behind me actually. So I've got 3 elegant bourbon cask, American oak, virgin oak, and Oloroso sherry. And then I've got the 3 Rooks here, again, bourbon, American, virgin oak, and Oloroso sherry. So I will send out little packages of these to yourself or the entire group of people, and we'll have a little sort of tasting like this, where I will obviously go into a lot more depth between sort of 4 or 5 of us.
Okay, so if they wanted to get involved, they get hold of you, you arrange for the samples to be sent to them, and then you either have a joint sit down tasting together and go through them, because people don't understand that Rook is obviously the smoked version of what we do, and go through them. And if they like them, they would obviously talk to you about getting the cask.
Yeah.
They buy the cask. Is there a deposit?
It's giving you a snapshot of what you could end up with, because your personal cask is not going to be exactly the same as any of these 6 behind me, because of course it all depends on these different factors that we've spoken about. So but it will give you this snapshot of what your whiskey will be like at the end of its journey.
Okay, great. Sounds fabulous. And then you can choose where it's stored as well, which is really nice.
Yeah. So basically, I'd like to offer, anyone that sort of contacts me from this broadcast to, offer a free tasting and a free pack of samples, which I'll send out. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from everybody and taking it from there.
Matt, will there be any live events? Is there anywhere that you're going to be hosting that you're going to be, people can come along to if they were more interested?
Well, hopefully, yes. Somewhere down the track, we'll be doing one on the Mackmyra channel, hopefully. When I get my feet under the table, so to speak, a bit more. But there'll also be, sort of a bit more activity on social media and things like this. So yeah.
Otherwise, they get hold of you on your email or on one of the websites, our social media websites, and we'll get in touch with them and pass them on to you.
A very good page on the Mackmyra website, which shows you. It details basically all that I've said. About that. There's about the reserve cask. There's also the ready cask as well, which gives you a different offering, because it's the same idea, but essentially it's been sort of part or almost fully matured for you. So of course the cost is a little bit sort of more, because you're paying for this sort of maturation, extra time sort of that's had in the cask already. But essentially these could be bottled, almost straight away, or I think that's something like the Milroy's one that you spoke about before. But it could be bottled straight away, or you might have to wait only 6 months if you slightly more impatient, let's say.
I think John's going to touch on it, so that's a nice intro. Thank you for that, Matt. So I think what we should do at this point is maybe fill your glass before we get on to John, and then head over to John. And John, I mean, you've gone through the offer online. Tell us a little bit about you. We know you're from Italy. What's your role in Italy, and how do you fit into Mackmyra program? And we'll just, I suppose, talk about the cask program that you offer online at the moment.
Yeah, sure. So I run the online web stores, the one in the UK, our European one, and the German dedicated one that we have. We sell all bottles and merchandise and the usual things that you expect to find online, but also we run our cask program through it. So if you are having a kind of evening in and want to have a quick browse of our casks, you can go through on mackmyra.co.uk and look at all the casks. There's the reserve program that Matt spoke about, where it just goes through the step-by-step, how it progresses. Really everything Matt just touched on then goes into the pricing structure. One of my favorite parts about it, if I do say so, is that you can actually design your own label and get an idea of how that would look. So come up with names, add your own pictures to it, things like that. It's a bit of good fun. We've done a few kind of competitions in the past of getting people to put their names of what they'd come up with, which is always good fun, see what people come up with, creative ones. And there's the ready casks, which I think there's about 12 on there at the moment, but we do have a long list of them available, which you can get in contact with if you're interested in something specific. But even going on there, you can just having a quick browse. The one actually I've got here is a little sample of cask number 34,840. Always give them great names. Elegant Gravity, 47.9%. There's 43 bottles in this one, and the full price to your door, including all labeling, duty, delivery, absolutely all of it, is £2,527. So the Elegant Gravity is the oh, my mind's gone blank. That's the top and tail one, isn't it, of our casks? Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, so let's talk about that for a bit. So we do crazy things as well. We, the ready casks, not so much. Matt has more of the interesting casks if you get into the program. But on the gravity cask, we take a bourbon cask, we cooper it down to 30 liters, and we put Swedish oak top and bottoms on it, and it adds a completely different complexity to it, and it is fabulous. It's one of my favorites. In fact, John, I have one of yours that you've done as gravity cask.
Yes, Ambassador Selection, yes.
Which
that was one I got to actually chose. Which one's that you got there? Is that the Smoky or the?
No, it's the Elegance. It's a 38617, 45.6% ABV, and 56 bottles. So it was quite a big barrel you did here, although it's 30 liters.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But I love
the color of that one especially.
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah. and the product itself is.
And it shows off exactly. That is the same label as we offer, and so I wanted to show exactly what that would look like. I didn't even put an image on it. It's just a nice bit of text. You can of course go back and change that. Have we mentioned the plaques? Just looking at the lovely image we have there. No, of
and there's a gravity car.
Yeah, shall I mention that now?
Yeah,
or shall
absolutely.
Yeah. So as well as on the website, you can have a look at designing your label. You can also go on and have a look at every cask has a plaque which gets put on it, which has the date, the number, and also the message you want to put on there. I do have the video of the Forest warehouse, but one of the things, because of data security and everything, we can't actually show you any of those really close up because we like to keep them private. Some people have them as gifts and going through, so we basically just went for an all-out blanket. We're not going to photo them, so you'll see it's a bit of a strange video.
Didn't you buy your own cask and store it?
I did. I will show you. I bought into this. You'll have to see this. I got a little
now
video
we know he's
here.
getting paid too much, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I went for this was me back in chilly February in Sweden. I went for an anniversary cask with the Rook. You do get to fill it with a petrol pump.
And I ask you, are you using a petrol pump? Are you filling a car? Are you filling a cask?
Yeah. I did spill some. And then it gets put in storage to be moved across. I was right at the end of the day because obviously they're on work. I just wanted to do this quick and have a quick film. So that one will fade out. I think I've also got the Forest warehouse as well, which is a nice little, I'll talk over that briefly. This is the one where next to the distillery, it's just on the right. It is on the back of a forest. This is where I chose to mature my one in there. And yeah, it does have a bit of a nuclear silo feel going on. Over time, it's going to lots of different ones in there, all your anniversary, elegance, rooks. There's a couple of butts in there as well. That's a PX cask, if I remember rightly. Some of the original early ones as well. Yeah, it's again a brilliant place to go into. I think there's 6 rooms they have filled with casks.
Wow.
There's not too much difference really in terms of maturation between the two. And gin cask as well. Just maybe giving something away little there for the future.
Yeah. Oh, we've lost John.
How many casks? Do you know how many casks are maturing?
How many people?
How many casks are maturing in there?
I'm not offhand, and I know that we have a potential to store a lot more than we have. Particularly at the Forest warehouse, we have a lot more space where we do the 30-liter casks. Just while we're on that, Gareth asked, how many people can collaborate on a cask?
Yeah, I just saw that. Obviously, I'm quite new, so is there an upper limit for?
No, there is no limit. It just means that the more people you have on the cask, the more complicated it gets in terms of naming the cask, sharing the bottles, and paying for it.
Yeah, and you get bottles at the end of the day, I guess.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, I think I've been good. Trying to run too many things at the moment, and I may have hit the wrong button. But it was a nice fade. I'll just get to the video.
So that's the Forest House.
The answer to Gareth is that there's no real limit, but obviously you've got people like 3 or 4 people clubbing together. They're getting then sort of 12 bottles each, or
right.
whatever it is. So yeah, that's
the answer. Very manageable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do have to agree on the label and things. That is one of the only stipulations we have. It's we have some people who have requested, can we have one each? And that gets a bit unmanageable. We can look at doing that if you're desperate, of course. But it's
it's up to you. So that's quite interesting you say that, Jon, because people want to know, do you get to keep the cask?
Unfortunately, you don't. So we do keep that in Sweden. And so it all gets bottled and sent to you in the UK or wherever you purchase it. You do have the option of refilling that cask, which is something we encourage. And I believe there's a discount on that as well if you do it again on the second one.
That's right. Okay. And do you get to keep the plaque as well?
And you get to keep the metal plaque. We did look at doing the heads of the casks as well, but we're still looking into that because they do deteriorate quite quickly because they've been filled with, they've had whiskey on the back of them for up to 5 years, and suddenly to be put in a dry environment, especially in places and around the world and the UK, they do just start to deteriorate and crack. Cannot speak. That too.
So, Jon, on your website, there is the reserve cask, which Matt has told us in depth about tonight, which is you buy a cask now, you lie it down for as long as you like, so no longer than 5 years. And then in between that time, you get samples and you can choose when you want to bottle it. You also have the ready cask, where you get samples sent to you, you choose a cask, and they bottle it and they send you it almost immediately. So within a space of period of time, within a couple of weeks. Am I correct in that kind of logic of thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
that's exactly it. Yeah, the ready cask is go on.
So on your website, is that you've got a drop down box that says reserve cask and a drop down box that says ready cask, and it takes you in a different profile. Okay, all right. And if
they both explain each one.
Okay, and if people wanted to go in there and have a look, they could go onto the ready cask and they could almost design their own label, design what cask they wanted, and a pricing structure would come out?
For the ready cask, it shows you exactly every single one for that. For the reserve cask, you can click on each one, and almost like choosing a car, you can customize everything from the finish you're going for, the cask and the location and everything.
Okay, and the price difference, I mean, Matt touched on it earlier. He said that the ready casks are slightly more expensive. Is that because you're paying for the duty on it and everything up front, or is it because it's ready to be bottled? Okay.
So there is a slight difference between the reserve program. It comes from actually reserving it in Sweden, and so we have that, we mature it. You're paying everything initially of the bottling, the duty, the insurance, the delivery, labeling, everything like that. The only thing with the reserve cask is we don't know how much duty we have to pay at the end to the government. And so the final, duty payment is the bit that comes out at the end when you've bottled it, and we know exactly how many bottles we're sending to you. We deal with HMRC on your behalf and tell you how much you need to pay. We pay it as Mackmyra, you pay us, we deliver it to you. It works out about £430 on about 52 bottles at 48%, or it might be the other way around, but it's about £430 on that is what it comes down to.
So as Matt said, the entry level price is around what, 1.5, 1.8, did he say?
Yeah, 1.5 it comes to, which, about 18, top end of 1,800 with duty, depending on how it goes, of course.
Okay, and then Matt, there's no additional cost for investment, i.e. for laying it down, for maintenance, for samples being sent out, tastings. There's no additional cost. So that base price is just your cost for the liquid and the barrel.
Yeah, at the moment I'm offering the free tasting to anyone that contacts me. So yeah, that's the cost. I think that's quite unusual actually, because again, you see sort of particularly some of the new distilleries that are popping up, sort of offering things, but they, of course, people are not aware that there's other costs that sort of then come through that, you know, catch you a bit by surprise, maybe. So to actually have all of that, you know, very clear from the beginning is quite unusual, I think.
So once it's been in there for the period of time and you think 3 years, I need to bottle it now, and it's at 40% ABV, as John says, there's 52 bottles. We then bottle it for you, no additional cost. We label it for no additional cost. And all you pay is the duty once it gets into the UK. And that's it, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
John? No additional cost. Yep. Okay.
No, it's just that duty bit.
Oh, okay. So if the ABV is lower and the bottles are lower, chances are you'll be paying a bit less, but an average of £430 on the 1.5 year of your initial investment.
Yeah. And that's not Mackmyra taking any more money. That's just us paying. And full disclosure, of course, that may go up over 5 years. It is the duty payment, which is £28.74 per litre of 100% alcohol. So you can do the maths on it as you look at that.
And if you were to pick this cask, for example, 38617, there is only one of these. When it's gone, it's gone. There's no other cask line around 38617.
Yeah, 30 litres, that's it.
That's it. That's yours. You're the only person.
100% yours. Yeah.
Fantastic. On the ready cask side, if I can just touch on that again, just so people understand, the price you're given is all the taxes, all the duty paid, bottled, labelled, whether it be 48 to 52 bottles, 45 bottles, depends on what was in the cask at the time. That's the final price you pay. So if it's £2,100, it's delivered to your door, all the bottles labelled, printed, ready for drinking.
Absolutely, because we know the price of the duty, and so we factored that in as well.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Here's an interesting question from Gareth. Can I just ask it? I don't need one of you to clear this up.
Yeah.
The ready cask, mostly in 40% ABVs, are there full strength options available? Example, 60 plus ABV.
Oh, so yeah. Shall I take this one quick, or would you like to, Matt?
You take it, John.
Everything here is cask strength. This is just how they've matured. So some of them have gone down to 43, 44%. Is that the question? And so we see some are 57.6%.
That's right.
Some are even higher than that. Obviously, for it to be whiskey, we always keep track of it. And so every year on the samples and the monitoring, we make sure it never goes below 40% for it to be whiskey when it's bottled. Everything there is 100% cask strength. We don't actually cut that down in any way or even do requests for that. The product is cask strength, everything that cask delivered, and that's what you're getting.
Okay.
So essentially you could sort of predict what it's going to be, but of course, depending on where it's maturing and how long you leave it for, it's going to, and in some cases, a combination, it's going to determine. So this label that I showed before, for example, this is the Smoky Rook Oloroso, 30 litres, and it's come out at 54.7. So, you're kind of, you can guess within a certain parameter, but you're essentially rolling the dice. That's kind of the beauty of it. I can show you with some samples what it could be like, but of course your cask might go in a slightly different direction, depending on sort of what happens with it. So that's the beauty of it, I guess.
And no two casks are ever the same, even if they lie next to each other in the same warehouse. It's
that's the fun part.
Yeah. So John, if people want to know more about what you're offering in terms of the offer that you're offering on the website, about ready casks and reserve casks, how do they get involved with that? How do they get more information?
So the actual special offer we have at the moment, is that the one you're on about?
Well, it's on the website.
So there is a cask offer running at the moment until the 1st of May, where anyone who actually purchases a cask, we've got 4 great incentives really for you. The first one is what we've called the hard hat tour of the Mackmyra Whisky Village, where we're going to take you and you're going to have a really a whole full 24 hours over 2 days on a weekend. Come along to the distillery. We're going to take you to Mackmyra Village. We're going to show you around. You're going to have a whiskey on the top of the Gravity distillery, and then you're going to go back to a hotel, which is included in this offer. and then come back in the evening, have a meal, even more Mackmyra whiskies. And then the next day, we're going to pick you up and actually take you to the original Brooks distillery, and then take you to Bodus Mines, which is somewhere where really no one ever gets to go to, but an amazing place. And I think they're going to have a little sample there before heading back to Stockholm. Like the bottles Shane been holding up, we're doing a cask, a single cask bottling of, we're going to pick one of our favorite casks, and those that purchase a cask, we're going to bottle that, and that's going to be totally exclusive to the people in the UK who purchase a cask. And it's the only way you can get hold of that one. And so a lovely little expression, and something, it's going to be 48 bottles of it, and that's all that's ever going to exist. We're going to be running cask samplings events next year, when we're all back out and seeing each other and everything. We're going to be having a great time. We're going to organise cask tasting events. Initially in Manchester and London is where we're putting them, but obviously as people start to purchase them in different places around the country, we're going to look to coming to them a bit closer and organising them. We're going to bring along a load of cask bottles for people to try. Your own cask samples are going to turn up as well, and our experts are going to walk you through how it's maturing, how it's going along, see if you want to make any additions to it and stuff like that. And my favorite one from where I come from, we're also giving you, for the life of the cask, or up to 5 years, whichever comes sooner, is an online store discount of 15%. So everything that's online, apart from more casks, you can get a 15% discount on anything you purchase.
So this is .co.uk, the website, the online website. You're giving, how much did you say? 15%?
15, yes, 1 5.
For the life for the cask, or 5 years, whichever comes first.
Yeah.
Essentially. Geez, that's a deal and a half. That really is a deal.
Sorry, the other way around. Yeah, 5 years minimum. So if your cask goes on for 4 years, you still get the extra year. For those that perhaps want to bottle it after 3 years. Yes.
That's a pretty good deal. And that's open to all the new releases and everything else that happens.
Yeah, everything we put out there. You'll get 15% out. I'm also probably going to tell you when things are coming out a bit sooner, just so at the end of the day, you're going to be our biggest fans, and vice versa.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question. Cam C has asked, can you choose the size of bottles, i.e. 70 cl, 50 cl, or 20 cl? Or is it only 50 cl?
I can, 50 cl is what we go for with these. We can look at doing that. That's the one that comes with the price. If you are looking at doing a 70 cl bottle, we can work with you for that. We can help you come up with your own designs for bottles and things like that. Of course, there are additional costs for that sort of a thing. But yeah, 50 cl is really where the program lies. But options are available for anyone who's interested in that sort of a thing.
Okay. It sounds great. It really does sound great, guys. And John, I mean, if you wanted to buy the cask and you wanted to store it in your bar at home, I mean, it's obviously a negotiation you could have down the road potentially. Yeah,
it's as long as we have a relationship with the person who's doing that. Our casks are very sought after, and so we do have to come up with a price, or at least knowing what's going to happen with that and trusting the people that we're sending it. And that's all it really comes down to, just because, especially the Swedish oak ones are worth a lot of money. They're some of the rarest casks, well, probably the rarest casks in Sweden.
Yeah. Okay. Fair play. Guys, I don't know. Is there any more questions coming in from the audience? People are saying they'll have to ask their better halves whether they can buy one. I think a lot of people are in that boat.
As someone who went and as someone who went and actually got one of these, one of my favorite things about it is it sounds a bit of a crazy thing, but it's a manageable amount of whiskey. I've looked at doing some of these in the past, and you're looking at 200 liters quite often, and you're gonna get a few hundred bottles from that. And
250.
Yeah, especially if you're going to cut it down to a nice 40% level. And it's just like 350 bottles is a lot. It is. You have to like that one for a long time, or have a lot of friends who like that whiskey as well. And it was just like, I could do 40. I bought it with my father-in-law and myself, and we've gone through, and so we're splitting it in half. And that's just going to be like, 24, 25 bottles between us, which are going to last us a few years. Yeah. But that's kind of just enough, and then I could look at doing the next one after a year.
Well, that's a nice amount, isn't it? And this is why I say, it's good to share with maybe 3 or 4 people, because then you're going to end up with like 10 or 12 bottles. And, if you drink 10 or 12 bottles of anything, you might get a bit bored of it at the end of the day. So it's a nice way of kind of putting, sort of this together, I think, is to share it like you've done, Jon.
Yeah. And we do have bigger casks available for sale. It's not just to say that we do 30-litre casks. We do have bigger casks, but the program we're talking about tonight is the 30-litre cask. So if anyone out there wants a bigger cask, who's interested in a 200-litre cask or 128 litres, please get in contact with us, and we can talk price with you as well. But yeah, guys, I don't know if there's anything else to add, except that you're not investing in a cask, you're buying a lifestyle. You've been part of the Mackmyra family. 21,000 casks sold to date, 30-litre casks worldwide. You become part of that, and you get into the cask lifestyle that Mackmyra kind of offer. And I think that's also part of this. It's binding to this culture of Swedish whiskey, in particular Mackmyra.
Yeah,
I think it's a great offer. I really do.
Definitely one of my favorite parts of it.
Looking forward to sort of speaking to everyone that contacts me, and so taking it from there. Yeah, it's an exciting program.
Yeah,
I would say to everyone, try the samples, because it does. Mackmyra whiskies are great, but the single cask offerings are always on another level. Some of the ones we've tried have been
these are exceptional,
phenomenal, and it's just your own whiskey.
Yeah, no, these are something exquisite. They really are. Great, guys. I suppose that's us for tonight. Unless anyone's got anything else to say, I'd like to thank Matt and for coming in and giving us some of your time and some value information. Thank you very much, Matt, and good luck. And Jon,
good luck, Matt.
As always,
have fun.
Have you on the show. Thank you very much for giving up your time. I know it's a bit later in Italy.
Always fun.
I just want to talk briefly before we go about what's coming up in the show. We have a few interesting things happening in the weeks coming. We are starting a cocktail Friday evening on the 17th of April, which will be really good. So if anyone who is interested in cocktails, it's a lot of fun. It's only for probably about 40 minutes. Come on Friday nights, probably 7:30, and it's going to be really interesting to see us make live cocktails. We have a few other guest nights happening. But it's not to say that this is all we offer. If you want to be part of this, please get in touch with us. If you want more information from Matt, get a hold of Matt on his email address. It goes on the bottom of the screen, or go to .co.uk to find out about online casks or ready casks, as we call them, from Jon. Otherwise, get a hold of us on one of our social media pages. We'll get back to you if you can't remember the email address. Again, thank you guys for a lovely evening. Any questions?
Thanks
please
for hosting, Shane.
Only a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing you all again. And look after yourselves and take care. This is Shane Pirie saying good night. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Well.
Bye.